الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله النبي الكريم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ما شاء الله لا قوة إلا بالله. يا حي يا قيوم. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا مولانا وحبيبنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وأصحابه وعترته بعدد كل معلوم لك وبعدد خلقك ورضا نفسك وزنة عرشك ومداد كلماتك. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم وأتوب إليه. يا حي يا قيوم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. وأشهد أن سيدنا محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله. أما بعد، قال الله تعالى في كتابه العزيز: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. ألم يأن للذين آمنوا أن تخشع قلوبهم لذكر الله وما نزل من الحق ولا يكونوا كالذين أوتوا الكتاب من قبلهم فطال عليهم الأمد فقست قلوبهم وكثير منهم فاسقون. اعلموا أن الله يحيي الأرض بعد موتها قد بينا لكم الآيات لعلكم تعقلون. In this ayah from Surah Al-Hadid from Holy Quran, the translation is, isn't it about time? Listen, my brothers, how Allah is addressing us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with His eternal speech, His kalam from the Holy Quran. He's addressing us, you and me, and all the believers. All you who believe, isn't it about time? Isn't it about time for the believers' hearts to submit, humbly submit, which is khushu'. The word khushu' in Arabic is difficult to translate that word. The khushu' is what you feel in your heart when you are in a state of worship, making dua, maybe sajda or doing ibadah or salah, and then the feelings and emotions come to your heart and your eyes get teary and you cry in the state of khushu'. This is the khushu', the Arabic word. The translation, the closest translation is to humble their hearts. Or soften their hearts. So the translation again, this is how the ayah starts. Isn't it time? Isn't it about time for the believer's heart to soften and humble themselves in that state for the dhikr of Allah, for the remembrance of Allah and what has been sent forth from Allah, what has been revealed of the haqq, of the truth, and not to be like those before them who have been given the book, people of the book, which is the Christians and the Jews, who've been given the book, and then the time has lapsed so long for them that their hearts got hardened. And so many of them are rebellious, are fasiqun. And then Allah, the next ayah says, اعلموا أن الله يحيي الأرض بعد موتها. Know very well that Allah can revive, bring the dead land, the dead earth back to life. After it's dead, back to life. قد بينا لكم الآيات لعلكم تعقلون. I have shown you the signs so that you may comprehend and make some sense out of them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is a very powerful ayah that there are a couple of stories that I know of that inshallah I will mention them in a few minutes. But let's just try to understand what Allah is telling us here in this ayah. Allah is addressing us and addressing those of us whose hearts are about to be, they're getting hardened, that we hardly get affected or softened the heart from the dhikr of Allah or from the Quran. And when we hear the Quran, we recite the Quran, we do the dhikr of Allah, we hear the dhikr of Allah, hardly anything goes on. And that is a sign of a hardened heart. Allah says, don't have those kind of hardened hearts like the people of the book, the other religions, who time has lapsed so much. Tul amad, what is mentioned, the wording in this ayah has been two interpretations. One of them is that time has lapsed so long, and the more accurate translation is when you perceive that you still have so long of time to live in this dunya. So Tul Amad is one of the sources of the main sources of the greatest diseases of the heart, is because you feel you're going to live for so long in this dunya to the point that the akhirah is absent from our mind. Death is absent from our minds. So when we're in that state, feeling that, we still have a long time to live. The day of judgment is so far off. And then, the shaitan and the nafs and the dunya and all those, our enemies, they make us feel like we still have a long time. You might as well just work for this dunya and accumulate wealth and get 2 or 3 jobs and expand your business and this and that and build a bigger house and buy a new car and all those things. So that state is what has been described. Allah is what could cause the heart to be hardened. Then Allah is saying, isn't it about you? Oh, you believe. لَلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, us, you and me and all of us who are believers. Isn't it about time for our hearts to be softened and humbled for the dhikr of Allah and for the Quran? So listen how, this is itab is the word in Arabic, is when someone, say, you have, the analogy is when you have like a child that you love and he does something wrong and you say, oh, my beloved child, shouldn't you be doing this? It's better for you. This is the word, this is the meaning of that. This is what is in that ayah. Allah is telling us, shouldn't our heart be softened? And then if we don't have that, if we are, and he's telling us what is making the hearts hard, is like the people of the book, the other books who times have lapsed so long, where they have neglected the zikr of Allah, where they thought that they're going to live for so long and got so busy, entangled with the dunya, that their hearts got hardened. And then Allah says, in the incredible, miraculous eloquency of the Quran, in the next ayah, Allah says that no matter how dead your heart is, the analogy Allah uses is the dead land. You see dead land, barren land, drought, nothing is growing in it, and then suddenly that analogy was used by Allah in so many ayahs in the Quran. And then suddenly Allah sends rain, and all of a sudden it flourishes, and you'll see, crops growing and grass growing and life, and then the earth comes back to life after it was dead. So this analogy here is in this context is that no matter how hard your heart is, no matter how dead it might be, Allah can still bring it back to life. So you always have a chance with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when Allah is asking, isn't it about time? What should our answer be? Yes, it is time. It is about time for my heart to be softened. If this is not happening to me, then I'm doing something wrong. I have to do something about it. And the first thing is what is mentioned in the next ayah is not to feel that I still have a long time. Death is coming any time. The day of judgment is coming sooner than you think. Hadrat Abdul Qadir Jilani, he said, whoever dies, his qiyamah started. That's it. And this is coming any minute. Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, he had a ring, and on the ring he engraved Al-Mawtu ya Umar, to remind him of death. It says, death, O Umar, so that he remembers death all the time. And this is one of the the zikr of Allah, avoiding disobedience and ma'asi, of course. Those are the big sources of softening the heart. But the remembering death, أكثر من ذكر هادم اللذات. Rasulullah ﷺ said, mention this as much as you can. And then you can look at the other ayah. my brothers, is the connection between those two ayahs is incredible. In another ayah, Allah says, "Allahu nazzala ahsana al-hadithi kitaban mutashabihan mathaniya taqsha'irru minhu juludu alladhina yakhshawna rabbahum." Allah says that this holy Quran that is repeated and the best of speech with the kalam of Allah subhanahu, the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will make the skin of those who have their awe of their Lord stand up, their hair stand up. When was the last time we experienced that? And I need to ask myself, when this ayah applies to me, that will be that because Allah says, ذَلِكَ هُدَى اللَّهِ يَهْدِي بِهِ مَنْ يَشَاءُ. This is the guidance from Allah that He guides whoever wants to be guided, and dual meaning, or whoever Allah wants to guide also. So do I now want to be guided? Do I want to experience that? Don't I want this ayah to apply to me, that my hair will stand up? Amazing, wording and exact wording from the kalam of Allah in the Quran. The hair stands up when they hear or recite the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the stories, there's two stories and probably more. I think there's more than, but the two that I remember is one is the story of Malik bin Dinar radiallahu anhu. He was a great tabi'i, a great imam, and one of the greatest worshippers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Very well known for his nusuk, for his incredible dedication of and khushu and everything. So he narrated the story about himself. He said, I was a very rebellious, very sinful man, that I committed every major sin you can think of. That's what he said. I used to be drunk all the time. I used to do injustice to people, be mean, be arrogant, attending parties and lavish, lifestyle. This is how he was talking about himself. Then one time he said, I thought it was time for me to get married. I would love to have a daughter. So he got married, and he did have a daughter. And then when the daughter came, he named her Fatima. The daughter started growing and she's attached to him. So he started, furthering himself from the sins and from drinking and all those bad habits and the haram, and his heart started getting softened, and he's getting closer to Allah, and he started, going to the masjid, and every time that his young girl, the young daughter grows, and he grows more attached to her, and then in more appreciation of Allah's gift to him, and they get closer, the iman getting better, getting detached from the sins and all that he's been committing all his life. And then when she turned 3 years old, she died. She passed away. And when she passed away, he got so upset that he got much worse. He said, I got much worse than before. I relapsed so bad that I went more in drinking and doing bad things and partying and do all the haram that I did more than before even. That's how bad he got. To the point, he said that one time I was so drunk that I fell asleep. And in my sleep I saw a dream. And in the dream I saw that the day of judgment has started. And people are all gathered. And there's a caller. He's saying, bring so-and-so for presentation before the Jabbar, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for his presentation, one by one. And then he said, I was called by name. And when I called by name, all of a sudden, all the people around me disappeared, and my face turned black out of fear and awe from this presentation. And then all of a sudden, I saw this big serpent, big snake, coming and chasing me. And I was running away from it, and I got so scared. And I kept running and running until I was on the brink of a pit of fire. And I was worried. And as I was running, there was trying to find someone to help me. And I found this frail, weak, skinny man. And I asked him to help me. He said, I can't help you. I'm so weak. There's nothing I can do. And then he went to running away from the snake, the serpent, until he found this pit of fire. And he said, I had in one of two options, either go back to the snake and get attacked by the snake, the serpent, or go to the fire, which is even worse. So he reached out to the only person he could see, the frail, weak person, and he told him, what should I do? He said, just go to that hill. There's the only other way you can go. So he went to the hill, and then as he was going to the hill, he saw a bunch of children, and the children were telling his daughter Fatima, go and rescue your father. So she goes and she extends her right hand and she picks up her father, she saves him, and she hits the snake with her left hand, and the snake goes away, and then she sits in his lap like she used to do when she was alive. And then he asked her, and this all in his dream. He asked her, and this narrated by him. He's a tabi'i, a great tabi'i. What is that? What is that all about? She told him, this snake was your bad deeds, and that the frail, weak man was your good deeds. But because he's so weak, he couldn't do anything to help you out. And then she recites to him this ayah, أَلَمْ يَأْدِ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَن تَخْشَعَ قُلُوبُهُمْ لِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ. She recites to him this ayah, isn't it about time for the believers' hearts to soften and humble themselves to the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and what has been revealed of the haqq. And then he wakes up at that moment, and he wakes up in tears and all affected, and then he goes to the masjid to do the salah, and he finds the imam reciting the very same ayah. And this is an extreme example of someone's heart was so hardened with sins, all kind of major sins you can think of, he said. And now all of a sudden he got transformed. And this is exactly what Allah says in the ayah after that He will bring the dead earth back to life. And that's the other story is the story of Fudayl ibn al-Ayyad radiallahu anhu, also a great wali of Allah, great salih, from his stories of his worship and nusuk and wisdom are incredible. But he said, this again narrating the story about himself, and he said, I was a thief and a highway robber, so bad and so evil that even the average thieves would be scared of me. And then he will go and he would just rob people with the sword and steal money and all that. And one time he climbed a house to rob it, and then he was trying to listen to make sure nobody's around. And then he heard someone reciting the same ayah, أَلَمْ يَأْنِ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَن تَخْشَعَ قُلُوبُهُمْ لِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ. Isn't it about time for the believer's heart to soften and humble to the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, was being revealed of the haqq, of the truth? And he said, yes, indeed, it is about time, oh Allah, it is about time. And all of a sudden he's transformed into this great wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, great scholar. He went and he studied hadith, and on his way back home after he heard that and he's transformed, he stopped by like a rest area, so to speak, at that time. We're talking about centuries ago, but it was like a little hotel or something where people sleep on the way to travel. And as he went there, he heard people conversing with each other, and one of them was saying, should we sleep the night or should we go? He said, well, it's better if we go, but it's better for us to sleep the night, because this Fudayl ibn al-Ayyad, this highway robber, is so evil, and he's usually lurking on those streets. We better not be facing him. And and then he heard that, he said, I am Fudayl, and I have repented, and I ask of Allah to forgive me. And he became a great worshipper of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When he was seen in Hajj, then he was crying and weeping, and he was pleading to Allah, saying, oh Allah, even if you pardon me, even if you forgive me, how can I show my face when I meet you? And spent the rest of his life in worship and crying and khushu'. So those examples, my brothers, is what can happen from one extreme to the other. Allah says that can happen no matter how hard my heart is. If I can recognize, if this heart comes and hits a spot, this ayah hits a spot in my heart, then there's a chance Allah will revive my heart, like He will revive the dead, barren, drought land back to life with the rain. And that happened, those two examples happened to those two people. It can happen to my heart. So I have to do a self-assessment. Look at my heart. What do I do? Do I get those things that Allah has described in the Quran? Does my hair stand up? How often? When was the last time my hair stood up? When was the last time my eyes got teary? When was the last time I cried in a state of khushu'? Whether in dua or in salah or reading Quran or anything, remembering Allah. When was the last time that happened? If this happened so long ago, then my heart is hardened. So I have to do something about it, my brothers. We have to do something to soften the heart. And the heart gets softened by the dhikr of Allah, by remembering death, by realizing that, working for our akhirah, death can come anytime. By coming to the masjid, keeping good company. If you keep company, bad company of people who could care less about the akhirah, you will be among them. It's not going to make any difference. You have to keep the company of the people who come and pray in the masjid. Those who who are mindful of the akhirah, whose akhirah is priority for them, whose death is always on their mind. This is how we be. This is what Allah says. Isn't it about time? We should say our response to this ayah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to us, yes Allah, it is time. It is about time for my heart to be softened. And I'm going to do something about it. I want to be guided so I can I can experience those things. My hair stands up and my eyes are watery and teary. And I want to wake up and then come to the masjid in the Fajr and Isha and keep the company of the people who are like that. And this is, my brothers, how, inshallah, this is addressed to myself, and we're all in need of that. We all want, asking Allah. The best thing is to beg for Allah, beg with dua, with tears. Ask Allah, please soften my heart. Allah is al-qalbu salim illa man ata Allah biqalbin salim. يوم لا ينفع مال ولا بنون إلا من أتى الله بقلب سليم. Allah says this is the day when Ibrahim said that, alayhi salam, on the no money, no children, no families, no next of kin can help except who meets Allah with a pure heart. So this is something we can ask Allah for. Please give me a pure heart. Oh Allah, make dua seriously. Be serious about it. Allah is al-Mujib. We hear, we respond. Ask Allah. I want Allah, Ya Rabbi, I want my heart to be softened. I want to the ayah that you have mentioned in the Quran to apply to me. My hair stands up. I want to be in khushu'. It's time for me to be in state of khushu'. We have to have that on our mind, our brothers. The dunya is guaranteed by Allah. The rizq is guaranteed by Allah. We're not here to last forever. This illusion from the shaitan and the nafs that we're here for so long time is not true. It's a trick. We have to get over that, inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه فيا فوز المستغفرين. استغفر الله العظيم. استغفر الله العظيم الذي لا إله إلا هو وأتوب إليه. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله كما ينبغي لجلال وجهه ولعظيم سلطانه، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن سيدنا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد، فيا عباد الله اتقوا الله تعالى ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون، واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا، واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله، وخير الهدي هدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم، واحذروا البدع والمحدثات، فإن شر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. اعلموا أن الله سبحانه وتعالى أمركم بأمر بدأ فيه بنفسه، فقال سبحانه وتعالى: إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على عبدك ورسولك سيدنا محمد البشير النذير والسراج المنير، وارض اللهم عن الأربعة الخلفاء الراشدين أبي بكر وعمر وعثمان وعلي، وعن بقية الصحابة وعن التابعين وتابعي التابعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين، وعنا معهم بعفوك وكرمك وإحسانك وجودك يا أرحم الراحمين. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا، وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا واخطأنا، ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا، ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به، واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا، أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. عباد الله رحمكم الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله يذكركم واشكروه على نعمه يزدكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. وأقم الصلاة.